And the word for stronghold doesn't just mean a big building. The word for stronghold also means prison. So it's this big, think of this big structure. Lots of rooms, lots of detail, lots of stuff going on. And it's not a luxurious mansion which everyone hangs out, but it's actually a prison with cells and chains. And that's a fitting depiction of a mind that isn't healthy. It's held captive to the thoughts that it shouldn't believe. It's held captive to lies that it had been told as a kid. It can maybe sometimes think, I shouldn't think the way that I think, but they can't help but think that way. That's all they think. They feel trapped. What is that? Paul says that mental dysfunction, that's a stronghold. And that's why you can't take a pea shooter when it comes to the battlefield. You say, what's a stronghold? I think if you really want to make it practical, get away from the metaphor. A stronghold in your life is any lie that you've chosen to believe. Any lie you've chosen to believe is a stronghold. And there are tons of strongholds because there are tons of lies that you can choose to believe. For some of us, the stronghold in our life is God doesn't love me. God could never love somebody like me. That's a lie. That's a stronghold. For others of us, it's I know what's best. I know better than God what's going to make me happy. That's a lie. That's a stronghold. I know better than God how to use my sexuality. This is very popular for young people, not just young people. I know how to use my sexuality in a way that's more satisfying, more fulfilling, and more appropriate than God does. And if you stay in that stronghold, you just talk to people who do this kind of sexuality, use their sexuality in this way, they find themselves in a prison. They wake up in the morning, they're not satisfied with their life, they feel dirty, they feel like they're not living out what they could be living out. What is that? It's a mental stronghold. It's a lie you've chosen to believe, and the longer you stay in the lie, the harder it is to get out of the prison. I know better than God what's good for my sexuality, or I know better than God what's good for my marriage. And then all of a sudden, your marriage feels like a prison. What is that? It's a stronghold. It's a mental stronghold. I know better than God what's good for my kids. I know better than God what's good for my finances. I know how to use my money better than God does. And then all of a sudden, you find yourself in a financial prison, and you don't know how to get out, and you don't know how you got there, and it feels like you can't escape. What is that? It's a stronghold. It's a mental stronghold, and it has practical, almost physical, tangible results, but it starts right here in the mind. Sometimes these strongholds constitute worldviews. So the worldview of naturalism. Naturalism is the worldview that nature is all there is, all there was, and all there ever will be. Can I get a Carl Sagan in the house? You remember that? Naturalism is a worldview, meaning it affects every single other area of your life. If those are foundational faith commitments, I don't believe there is a creator. That's a lie. There is no creator. That's a lie you believe. It becomes a stronghold. And if you're a naturalist or a materialist, then that affects the way you view politics. That affects the way you view the value of a human being. That affects the way you view the possibility of miracles. That affects the way you read the Bible. It affects everything about you. Why? Because it's a stronghold. It's a lie you believe. Once you believe the lie, bring it in. The longer you stay, the more damage it does, the harder it is to get out. Naturalism, materialism. Not materialism as in naturalism, but materialism in the sense of all that matters in life is if I have stuff and power, things, money, then I'll be happy. And that's a lie. Just ask people with all the stuff. They're not happy. They feel like they're in a prison. How did it start? What's the genesis? It starts right here in the mind. It's a stronghold. Or hedonism. All that matters is pleasure. If I can just enjoy myself, if I can just feel good, then I'll be complete. That's a stronghold. It's a lie we choose to believe. How about this one? Relativism. That's a worldview very popular in our day. Moral relativism is whatever's moral for you is moral for you. Whatever's moral for me is moral for me, which works out fine until you do something the other person doesn't like. Then they kind of get upset with you. Or moral relativism is there. There's not just moral relativism. There's relative truth. What's true for you is true for you. What's true for me is true for me. That's a lie. That's not even coherent. That's an absolute truth statement, which says there are no absolute truth statements. It's a lie. It's a worldview, though, that has penetrated our culture, and it's created a prison, and many of us are trapped in it. Individualism, humanism, political correctness, all those are lies. And when you exchange the truth of God for a lie and you believe the lie long enough, it becomes a stronghold. Others of us have a stronghold. It's not a worldview, it's an attitude. A stronghold that says, I can never forgive that person. What that person did to me is unforgivable. Or I can never forgive myself. What I've done in my past, what I did to that person is so bad, I can never be forgiven. It's an attitude. Or nothing good ever happens to me. You know that person who's always negative, Debbie Downer? And you're like, man, turn your frown upside down. Take a happy pill or something. What is that? It's a stronghold. It's an attitude that became a prison, and that's all they are. They're stuck. And it's right here. It's in your mind. That's my phone, so no one's going to turn it off. I can turn it off from my iPad because of iOS 8. Just a plug for those of you who are not Apple fans. Paul is saying, if you believe a lie, if you exchange the truth of God for a lie, and you believe that lie, the longer you believe it, the more a stronghold it becomes, and you're never going to break free from the lie with human weapons. Your self-help book is not going to liberate you. Your book club is not going to liberate you. Your news feed on Facebook won't liberate you. Your Instagram likes won't liberate you. Human methods won't liberate you. You need something bigger. You need something more powerful. You need something more effective.